Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO Zach Stanley.
I've got you in the palmer of my hand.
All right. Not only did you not realize it wasn't Wednesday, we sing on Wednesday. No.
I don't even think that's a song.
No. No, it wasn't. It was a bad pun. It was involved singing. I don't allow on not Wednesdays. And next to Blinko, save us, please.
That was horrible.
I'm drinking so much gin today.
Oh, you stole mine. I was literally lined up. It was all lined
I'm drinking
up.
so much gin today that I'm calling it gin.
Really? You guys had the exact same pun joke there.
I don't think he was going to go with the gin.
No, I was not going to do that.
Mine was probably better.
I was just going to say that Zach's singing has worn me out, so pass the gin.
And I'm slurring so much, I say that I'm taking clothes out of the dryer.
Hold on. Is Jonathan Dwyer even going to play on this team? Is he going to make this team?
What are you talking about?
I hate Jonathan Dwyer.
What are you talking
You
about?
hate everybody that isn't on the Steelers anymore.
Yeah, no, he
Well, that's
literally
not
hates
true.
them all.
The Arizona Cardinals seem to like taking running backs from the Steelers. They've just been migrating over there for their past the prime years.
How do you feel about Richard Mendenhall?
Well, he's no longer in the league, so I feel fine about him.
How do you feel about him when he played for this team?
For this team, I didn't like him on the Steelers, to be fair. I didn't think he was a good running back.
He doesn't like anybody.
So they got a couple running backs that didn't pan out. It's basically what they got from the Steelers.
Exactly. Perfect.
So why dedicate any sort of distaste for him when he's just not good?
Do you know me? I have distaste for everyone. This isn't like I automatically direct. Like I actually like. Hold on.
Fair enough.
I like.
A good point there.
I like Ken Wisenhunt, but no longer with the team. I actually liked Ken Wisenhunt a lot. He just happened to take some players with him who didn't pan out. Didn't work.
All right, fair enough.
All right, today we are clearly talking about the Arizona Cardinals on the Star Fantasy League show, but before we do that, I have to make Zach cry a little bit, and we're talking news, and sadly, the news involves David Price. David Price. You gonna be okay, Zach?
It was a tough night to watch.
That might be the understatement of the year.
Actually, the funny thing was that I was out grabbing some dinner, and it was at it was at a bar, I suppose. So
I suppose.
So I was still in a booth at the bar, so it was kind of away from the bar itself. But I could see the game, and I saw one runner get on, and then I saw another get on in the second. Then I ended up leaving shortly thereafter. I come home, I set up for the fantasy draft I had last night, and I look at my phone, and it's 8-0. So.
But not only that. 8-0, whatever.
Nine
consecutive hits, 8 earned runs. Was something wrong with David Price, or was this just one of those things?
I think this was fluky, yeah. I don't think there's some long-standing issue to worry about with David Price. I'm worried about the rest of the team, to be honest.
I was going to ask you, when are you going to start worrying? Because you haven't really been worrying too much.
I've been worrying. I've been
concerned. You said that you were not even close to panic mode the last time that we talked about the Tigers.
There's 30 games left, and they're 2 games back.
I totally understand what you're saying, but at what point do you start to worry?
Well, things aren't optimistic about Anibal Sanchez right now, so that hurts the rotation, although I think Rick Porcello can step up for a 4-man rotation in the playoffs.
To be fair, you do have famed starting pitcher Buck Farmer if you need to.
I love Buck Farmer.
I'm sorry, but if he starts a game in the playoffs for this team, you'll know something is really wrong with this team.
I really hope he ends up being a rising star. But, I mean, the one thing that the Tigers have going for them is the division. Unfortunately, right now, the Royals aren't playing anybody that is bad ever, and they're winning every game. I don't know what's going on.
So are you actually afraid of the Royals, or is it just their schedule that's worrying you?
I'm afraid that if we don't get ahead of the Royals, we won't be able to get the wild card. So we got to win the division as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, so you don't even want to be involved in that wild card race. You just want to win, get in, not have to worry about
I
the
would be
game.
involved in that wild card game anyway.
I wouldn't want to be
terrible.
involved in that anyways.
Yeah, the other team is the loser in the Angels Athletics, right?
Yep.
Imagine if we get Detroit, Oakland in that play-in game. That would be such a travesty.
That'd be a slap in the face, really.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, that would be annoying.
Here's the big question: whose ego gets most bruised in that Detroit and Oakland pitching staffs when they have to decide who pitches that game?
I don't think it has to do with that.
No, but I'm saying who do you start? You went and got all these pitchers for Oakland.
It depends on where you are in the season. It depends on where you are in the rotation because the fact is you have to win to get there as it is.
That's
right.
true.
You're coming right into that game just having played your last series. It
but
would be what? It would be Tuesday after the Sunday?
You're going to assume that one team is probably slated in that wild card spot and a couple games up. They can probably prepare for that game and hold one guy out, right? Because they both have such good rotations. Right
I don't know. It's really tight. I really wouldn't be surprised to see this come down to the last game of the season. So if that happens, then you don't have a clue. You just don't have a clue.
That is true. It's going to be an interesting set of playoffs in the AL especially, and I have a feeling on the other side in the NL, I think Clayton Kershaw, we just saw last night, got his 16th win. He has a sub-2 ERA for the second straight year going into September, is only the fourth pitcher in history to do that.
Yeah, he's locked in for the Cy Young.
He's locked in for the Hall of Fame.
For the Hall
No,
of Fame.
Yeah, I would say he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now if this was his last year.
Well, he still needs to play the years because injuries do hinder people for the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Injuries do. I hate it. I hope he never gets hurt because I love watching him.
Would this make it his third Cy Young if he got this one? It's three, isn't it?
Third or fourth, but yeah.
Yeah,
That's already he's already
so
there.
If he
yeah.
stopped, he's there.
He's there.
No, you can't just put him in. You can't
course
just say,
you
yeah,
can.
here you go.
Of
Sure, you
course
played.
you can.
You got 3 Cy Youngs in 4 years.
All right,
You're
so
gonna go.
if he got hit by a truck,
He'd
God
get it.
bless
That
him.
is a different
God bless
story
him. I hope he
altogether.
That's what I'm saying. If he has
It's a different story altogether.
if he has a career-ending injury next year, he'd get in the
The
Hall of Fame.
argument is that we're putting him in right now.
Yeah.
If he were to unravel over the next 5 years, then that's something else. But then you still look back and you say, this guy.
I say he's on track.
Nope.
I won't. I'm not going to put him in.
That's like saying a
He's
guy.
not going in on my vote.
That's like saying a guy in the NBA who won like 2 or 3 MVPs is like, nah, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's had like 6 bad years. Whatever. I think a guy, if you have 2, 3 MVPs, that means you were the best player for X amount of years. You have to get in.
Okay, who did that happen to?
Steve Nash. He's going to get in, though. So I'm saying Steve Nash, his end of his career is going to kind of hamper
but
that.
He still was good for over a decade.
Yes, I know, but I'm saying
So-
he's
All right,
going
then we will monitor Steve Nash's progress as he finishes and charges toward the Hall of Fame ballot. We will monitor that, and we will revisit this
in 7 years. Yeah, exactly. In 7 years when he finally decides to stop playing basketball, or he decides to play soccer full time. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go.
He is Canadian. He likes weird things.
Go for you.
All right, let's talk about something else that happened. We briefly mentioned when we were talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few days ago. Actually, while we were talking about it, the Tim Wright-Logan Mankins trade happened, and we kind of just brushed over it because we were talking about Tampa Bay. Good for them. They got another lineman. But the Patriots have a weapon that we kind of just glossed over in Tim Wright. They were most successful under Tom Brady when they ran a 2 tight end set with Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Could Tim Wright fit into this slot and be more productive than everyone could assume?
I don't know that they were most successful when that happened.
No, that wasn't one of their. Wasn't
No,
that the
sure
year
it
that
was, definitely, absolutely.
Wasn't that the year they broke a lot of records with that
the
set
year
in
that
there?
they broke a lot of records was the one that they had Randy Moss for.
This is true.
So,
That's true.
No, it seems to fit the bill. Tim Wright had a couple of good games towards the end of last season, and I think that obviously the Patriots saw something in him. They really rarely make any of these moves and come up really short. So I think he's going to fit.
I think the Patriots saw having to be loyal to a guy that has been great for them for several years now and deserved the money that he should have coming his way, and they once again went the path of being a little bit cheap.
Well,
I think that's what they did. They wouldn't give Logan Mankins a contract, who Tom Brady loves. This is another guy that they lose off the staff that has dedicated himself throughout his career to the team, and they did not pay him again.
Well, but how many times does that work out where you are loyal to a team and then they pay you and then you actually end up producing for the final 4 or 5 years of your career? How many times does that actually work out for
He's still pretty prime right now.
He's 32 years old. Do you think he's got 4, 5, 6 years left in him? I don't. Not as a lineman.
Maybe a few.
He's got probably 2 or 3. I will give him the most.
It
3.
makes sense that they can't expect him to be at his peak when you're paying him the most money he's going to make his entire career. That's the problem with these contracts.
So I think that the Patriots have illustrated time and time again that as heartbreaking as it may be, in order to win consistently, you have to continue to get better every single season. So I agree with you, and yeah, I mean, I'm a loyal guy myself. I would love to pay everybody if I was in that situation. But if they want to continue to win,
he's one of their best linemen. They haven't won in a decade.
It's all about the future. They win their division every single season, so they're always in the.
They haven't won
hunt.
the Super Bowl in a decade, and in the last 5 years, they've had a much greater trend of letting these types of guys go, thinning out their defense and thinning out their offensive line.
And they've been in the Super Bowl twice since they won their last one and were thwarted by the Giants' defense.
That is very true. All right, we're spending
They
too
know
much.
how to win.
We're spending too much time talking about a team.
They're not going to win this year.
That
We'll see.
That is like, oh God, stop with it. Let's see. We're spending too much time talking about a team that I hate. I don't want to speak about ever again, the New England Patriots. But we need to move on to the NFC West.
Tom Brady was pissed. He's furious.
Of course he's pissed. It's his guy.
He'll get over it when he starts throwing touchdown passes to both of his tight ends.
All right, guys, we need to move on to the NFC West. This is the final division in our look around the entire NFL. We're breaking down all 32 teams here on the Star Fantasy League show, so let's get into it. The Arizona Cardinals, they impressed the crap out of me last year, and they pretty much came out of nowhere. Everyone kind of expected the Rams to be the team that maybe was the third team in that NFC West, and it turned out to be the Cardinals. 10-6. They should have made the play. If they were in the AFC, they probably would have been like the 5 seed, 4 seed, something like that.
Yeah, they would have. I think what happened was Carson Palmer got comfortable halfway through the season, and he started to actually get comfortable with his receivers. And then all of a sudden, they just started rattling off victories. They also had a pretty favorable schedule in the second half because they kind of started that run with Atlanta, Houston, and Jacksonville. And then they wound up pulling off a big one against Indianapolis.
Yeah,
so,
well,
this is a more than capable defense. We've known that for a long time. But the pieces that they were able to put together on offense, the talent that they have, and I think early in the year they were still with this Richard. Let's go with Rashard Mendenhall. He's going to be the guy. And then it went on, and here comes Andre Ellington.
Yeah, that was the stat I wanted to touch on. Through 7 weeks when Rashard Mendenhall was pretty much getting all the touches, 19 points per game. After that point, 27 points per game. Ellington's touches went from like a couple a game all the way up to 12 to 13 touches. And Bruce Arians said he's finally going to get the touches 20 to 25 a game. That's how you get an elite running back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, his 5.5 yards per carry led the league, so that's something to be said right there.
Yeah, that's
the guy's
a
tiny.
sick number.
He's what, 5'8", 5'9"?
Yep.
Like, that's ridiculous.
He's a hard runner.
He is. Good. It's good to see.
Hard runner, catches a lot of balls out of the backfield, 39 catches in limited time.
Yep.
Stay durable, Andre.
All right, after the break, we're going to be talking about Andre Ellington and the rest of the Arizona Cardinals and their fantasy perspectives. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
Unfortunately, Donald's mailbag will not be here for a couple more days because we are talking all 32 NFL teams. We're on the last division, NFC West, talking about the Arizona Cardinals today. Before the break, we briefly touched on Andre Ellington. My biggest offseason question for these Arizona Cardinals is, can Andre Ellington be this year's breakout fantasy stud?
I was very skeptical heading into the offseason discussions, but I got to be honest, after watching him in the preseason, watching the way that he runs and how much power he runs with, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, if they really are going to be true to form, giving him – I've seen anywhere from 20 to 30 touches per game. If they really are going to do that, there's no doubt that he will be a fantasy breakout star if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm very excited about him. I mean, he's got everything that you would want in somebody that can be awesome in a PPR league. I mean, he could pick up a ton of catches this year. He's proven himself to be very versatile and line up in a bunch of different sets. And where he's being drafted right now, I think he is much better.
Yeah,
and I think his season is one of the highest. He's going after Foster, he's going after Doug Martin. But in PPR, I think he could be one of the best. I really do.
Yeah, that's it's kind of like it's the opposite of C.J. Spiller last year. He had all the hype in the world, was going top 5 in places I saw, and the opposite is true here. Andre Ellington has this hype. You think he can be that good, except you said he's the 10th overall running back. Late second round, early third round ADP right now.
Well, here's the biggest difference I see between the C.J. Spiller situation and this one. C.J. Spiller had Fred Jackson to compete with, and I don't think a lot of people gave him credit coming off of that big injury. But Fred Jackson was playing at an MVP level the season before. I don't really know why people had him so high, but Andre Ellington has no competition. Jonathan Dwyer is only competition around the goal line. I do think he will take that role,
and he
kind of
likes to cough the ball up. From what I remember in
Sure.
Pittsburgh, he had a few goal line fumble. I think that's why he got cut originally.
Sure, but I mean, right now I think we have him slated as the goal line back, either him or Stephon Taylor. But other than that, I mean, he's going to play such a big role in the passing game. I don't think that's really going to impact his value that much.
Could we realistically see 70-plus catches from him this season? Because he did have 39 catches in absolutely no. He basically played half a season. If you consider his touches in the first half were like a couple a game.
Yeah, I would say to stay safe, 60 would be a little bit more reasonable.
I think he could have the most catches of any back.
Really?
It's definitely possible in my eyes.
Not named LaShawn McCoy?
No. You really think
overall,
overall,
I think he
right?
can contend with anybody for catches. He's not going to put up the type of McCoy numbers in the running game, but in the passing game, I think he'll be one of the best backs in the league. I really do.
So we are just at a consensus here that where he's being drafted right now, if he falls to you in the late second, early third round, it's a joke.
I've gotten him in the late third.
That's a joke. Yeah.
Mid late third.
If he's available to you, and
it's a steal.
It doesn't even matter what your roster makeup is at that point. Take him. He's the best player available.
We could all talk about injuries. I mean, the big concern with Andre Ellington was that because he's small, he might get injured.
Yeah,
that was it.
That's
exactly. So they were holding him back last year, but none of that happened. They gave him more and more touches throughout the course of the season, and now they say yes, he is that good. I mean, this is what people were clamoring for at the end of last season. So it's good that he's there, and now that he's going to be such an influential part of the offense, he's got to be drafted higher.
Yeah, McCoy actually ended up with 52 receptions last year, so
that's surprising.
That is surprising, but. Yeah.
Well, Pierre Thomas had more.
Had 77.
He had 77.
Yeah.
But that's Drew Brees loves passing to those running backs.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, I'm just
5,000
saying Ellington could do it.
Yeah, absolutely, you could.
All right, we talked a lot about the offense. We haven't even touched on the receiving core or that Palmer guy that throws the ball and likes to throw picks. That
I'd
guy.
like to talk about him if we can.
All right, we're going to talk about him when we talk about fantasy value and ADP, but I want to talk about this defense. They were really, really good last year. They kind of came out of nowhere. People knew they had pieces, but 6th overall defense, first against the run. This was a 5th in takeaways. This was a really good squad, but man, have they been decimated in the offseason. Players have left. Players have got suspended. Players have torn their ACL. I just feel really bad for this defense.
So do I. I mean, losing Darnell Dockett in the preseason is such a blow. They really had a chance to compete in this division, and it would have been a really big-time competition. You're going up against San Francisco and Seattle. I thought they would have had a chance.
Yeah, three teams won 10-plus games in this division last year, and we thought it could be pretty easy that they all do it again. But then, Darrell Washington suspended for drugs yet again, missing the first – he's missing the whole season, isn't he? He's gone because he was 4 games last year, full season this year. Dockett's out for the full year. They lose Carlos Dansby, who was a big part of that defense. Luckily, they got Tyrann Mathieu back. Hopefully, he's going to be there for week 1. He's currently working out, but – man, what are they going to do?
They're decimated, and it's very, very difficult to come back from this, especially with all these key players you have lined up and being in a division where you're going to need your defense to win some games because the defenses that you're going up against are so good.
Yeah, and pundits will say something like Larry Foote has been added to this team. That's not. We've already talked about this. Larry Foote is not a big deal. He had such an off season last season.
He's
really
like 40, isn't he? 38 or something.
He's old, and his production has just really, really tailored off. It's just. It's unfortunate to see.
Yeah,
I really was hoping to root for the underdog.
Yeah, because they got the pieces on offense, and they had such a good defense last year. There was a lot of reason for Cardinals fans to be excited. There's still reason to be optimistic, but it's really taken a big hit.
Well, the sad thing is all this kind of happened after the draft, after free agency, because it looks like they addressed their secondary. They had a problem. They got Antonio Cromartie to go aside Patrick Peterson, who is one of the best shutdown corners in the league. You got Tyrann Mathieu back there. They drafted a safety in the first round, Deion Buchanan, but they couldn't address Darnell Dockett going out with an ACL injury after free agency. I mean, how are you going to – you can't look forward to these things.
Nope, you just can't.
It's sad. I mean, they're probably going to bring some people in to try to fill these holes, but I see a major regression in this defense, maybe all the way to the middle of the pack.
Yeah, they don't have enough power at the front right now. They drafted some guys that could eventually contribute to that, but they're not going to be ready right out of the gate. There's not a lot of veteran leadership on this defense anymore.
Nope.
So
who is the veteran? It's Larry Foote, but what is he going to do on this team?
Well, John Abraham. I love John Abraham, and he is still beasting. He is still just rocking it out there.
He's going to need to do
11
a lot.
and a half sacks last year.
Yeah.
So if he can get 10, I think that's still above where he should be at this age. So 10 sacks, I think that's good. We'll see what happens.
He may need to be blocking the run a little bit better, though, because of who's missing in the middle there. They may ask him to take a step back, block the run, but honestly, I don't know. We don't run a defense here.
You never know.
Yeah, honestly, we don't. I don't know what
you really do never know.
The scheme's going to change. Let's be honest, it's got to change.
What they're going to be able to put together, anything could happen. It's just a shame that they've lost some of these key guys at the most important time.
That is true. All right, let's stop talking about the negatives. Let's move on to the Cardinals' offense for a fantasy perspective. Are there really any camp battles going on? I couldn't really find anything big other than the tight end position for this team. I mean, who the heck is it going to be? We got 3 guys listed on the depth chart. They drafted one of them out of Notre Dame in the second round. I'm going to assume they're going to give him some run, probably.
Yeah, we were talking about this just a little bit at the break, and Bruce Arians doesn't like his tight ends for some reason. I don't really know what it is, but no matter who's going to be playing that position, they're really not going to be a huge fantasy option. Troy Nicholas is the guy that you were talking about out of Notre Dame. He should push for time, but it's not going to matter.
Yeah, they're probably going to want guys that are more reliable for blocking purposes in there. Mm-hmm. And rookies usually aren't capable of doing that. And rookies overall, historically, have not produced great seasons out of the gate as tight ends. So I don't see anything happening there. John Carlson, we've seen him before. We know what he is. It's not going to be anything special.
Yeah, so the answer is not much.
There's nobody worth drafting here or even looking at it.
He'll be helpful in a football perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, no.
Not at all. And the rest of this team, the only other thing I'm looking at is the third wide receiver spot is kind of left open after Andre Roberts left this team. He actually was pretty decent towards the end of that season when Palmer finally got comfortable with the team. And Roberts was actually he had I think 2 big weeks. Other than that, nothing. But they brought in Ted Ginn Jr. the third, or whatever the heck he's calling himself these days.
Junior the third?
Yeah, sure, why not?
There's not much there. Honestly, I don't have a wealth of information on the backups that they're looking at behind these guys.
John Brown drafted in the sixth, I think it was 5th or 6th round, something like that. I mean,
I think these guys are going to be. You're just going to watch. Just watch, see what happens.
I think Ted Ginn showed his potential in Carolina.
He played well.
That he can be a factor in an offense.
Yeah, but not from a fantasy perspective.
No, of course not. No, there's nobody that's going to come in third. Andre Roberts, I don't even care the inconsistencies. Somebody had to be injured here and there. He was always a guy over the last few years that you pick up.
And then
I didn't pick him up, but yeah.
You're angry about it.
I think maybe I picked him up in one league over time, and I was pissed because he just can't produce those type of numbers. It's like picking up Nate Burleson.
Here's what I could see happening, though, because the first 2 options in this offense, or at least on the passing side of things, Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd, they're in their zone with Palmer. They've gotten comfortable. They know what they're doing. Now Andre Ellington, I think, becomes the third option in this offense. So what I could see happening is that teams start to focus on those 3 options, and then that third receiver now becomes a factor. So you might see a couple of games here and there where John Brown or Ted Ginn or whoever emerges and has a nice game. It's just not something you can rely upon.
All right, let's start talking about these guys a little bit more in depth. The guy that you mentioned, Carson Palmer. You wanted to talk a little bit about him. Go ahead. He's drafted currently as the 18th overall quarterback in the 12th round. Do you think he is relevant in fantasy, or is he just a backup fodder way back in the draft?
I think he could be relevant in fantasy. The thing of it is that if he can cut down the interceptions, that's going to be a huge boon to his game because he threw for over 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 of his interceptions came against one team.
I was going to say, to be fair, he did have a problem in a couple games just getting completely smacked, and he is in the division, the NFC West, where you're going to get just pounded on. St. Louis is much better on it's hard to get better than that defense, but they did get better. He was sacked 41 times last year. I feel like it was the Eli Manning thing where he was getting pressured. He made a couple really bad decisions that led to some interceptions, and I feel like playing in the division he is, you're going to have that. He's going to cut down maybe a little bit, but I still feel like 15-plus interceptions is going to happen.
He had two 400-yard games.
Yep.
He had 5 games over 300 yards. I think he could end up putting up some good numbers. And if the defense ends up becoming some of what people are concerned could happen, they could end up playing behind in a fair amount of these games.
Well, yeah, but going back to what you just said, though, he could be a matchup gem. You could have he could go up against a weak defense and just completely exploit them, and then you could be coming out having a great week.
And to be fair, he does have actually a decent schedule going on. They are playing the AFC North. That's difficult, but they're also playing the NFC North with a bunch of terrible secondaries, and they're playing Detroit and Atlanta. Detroit, I feel like you can definitely throw on.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Green Bay has a terrible secondary. What do you want?
Oh, okay. We'll see about that, buddy. We'll see about that.
I love when he gets defensive.
He's got his shirt on today.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Am I wrong, Zach?
Yes.
They're okay.
Oh, there you go. All right, coming after the break,
Okay.
we are
All
talking
right. All
more
right.
about the fantasy prospects, and we're also doing Mock Draft Monday on Thursday. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick, only on The Team.
Before the break, we only had a chance to talk about one Arizona Cardinal from a fantasy perspective, and that was Carson Palmer. It seems like he could be that guy. If you draft a quarterback early, you could put Carson Palmer in for a few weeks, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's a good fill-in if anything happens to your quarterback. I think he's good at looking at for your bye week, especially if you look at some of the better matchups that he has. Just the problem for me is a consistency perspective over the course of the year against some of the defenses he has to go up against.
The good thing is you're not going to be starting against San Francisco. You're not going to be starting against Seattle.
Right.
It's probably St. Louis either.
Good backup option.
Yeah.
Not going to be starting him against Green Bay.
Stop it.
Sam Shields, Tremont Williams, Clinton Dix. Get out of here, John.
He just wanted to say ha-ha Clinton Dix.
I did.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You know what his real name is?
Ha-ha?
Ha-Sean.
Oh, that's boring. That
What?
is boring. I liked ha-ha better. All right,
You
we
make so many great jokes with his name.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
You
We're not
can.
gonna do. We're not. I know. Okay, we're not
I'm
going
not
to do
going
it
to do
though.
it on the air, but
Of course you're not. All right, we got to talk about Andre Ellington, the big breakout star that's going to happen this season. I'm trying to jinx him because I have yet to draft him. I haven't
that's
seen
just
him anywhere
rude.
I liked him.
that's just rude.
Okay.
Why are you going to do that, man?
He's going. We talked about it earlier. He's going the late second, early third, sometimes as late as the late third round. Steal.
I am hoping that he falls in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, you ended up getting him in the mock that we're going to talk about in a little bit. I believe you got him in the third round. You got him in the fourth, didn't you?
I believe I did get him in the fourth.
That's disgusting. That should
Yeah.
never happen.
It is.
No, you did. You got him in the third round. You got Rashad Jennings in the
Oh,
fourth.
yes.
So I mean that's exactly your late third round, 34th overall pick. That is just a joke of a steal.
In all honesty, though, I think that can happen in a lot of drafts because we do these mock drafts and we do them against other mock draft experts, if you will, and these people know about Andre Ellington. I think you can find him sliding down in the third round. If you have one of those late first round picks, like 10 through 12, something like that, and you want to go 2 wide receivers, double down on your wide receiver production, you might be able to get him.
Sometimes people get a little wide receiver crazy. You might see Jimmy Graham, Gronk, and Julius all go in the first 3 rounds, and you might see people pick 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds.
All right.
So you could end up getting him at the end of the third. It can happen.
Here's a question. He's being drafted as the 10th overall running back. How many running backs in front of him in a PPR league do you think he can surpass this season? Because I actually think he can outproduce Marshawn Lynch in a PPR format because
Absolutely.
and he's drafted as the 8th overall running back in PPR.
I think he can outproduce DeMarco Murray.
I agree.
I think he has a chance of outproducing Monty Ball.
I think he could be sitting right at, after all is said and done, I think he could be sitting next year talking about a top 8 overall pick in fantasy. That's why he's going to have the chance to do it, and he has the system to do it. Yeah, why are more people not jumping on this bandwagon? I don't get it.
Well, I think people will eventually, but again, I'm just saying I think that the fact is that not everybody will know about him, and you will certainly be able to grab him at a place where you'll have tons of value out of it.
Perfect.
Yeah, everybody remembers a little bit of flash from last year if they paid enough attention, but nobody, not everybody has the foresight for what's to come, and we've seen it in the preseason, and we've seen it through the news that this guy is the guy. Mm-hmm. It's over.
Perfect. All right, the man that used to be the guy on this team, Larry Fitzgerald. he is being drafted 3 spots away from the new number 1 receiver on this team, Michael Floyd. They're being drafted 42nd and 45th in the 4th round. Who do you like?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is he really the new number 1 receiver? That's it, number 1? Because I don't agree with that.
You don't think Michael Floyd is going to have – it's his 3rd year.
I don't think he's the number 1 receiver in this offense. I think they are literally 1A and 1B.
Okay, but who do you think is going to have the most production from a fantasy standpoint? That's what I'm talking about, the number 1 guy.
I think Larry Fitzgerald is still the guy. I think he has changed his game so that he's not the deep threat anymore, and he is relished in that role. He's accepted that role, and he is still going to get 80, 90 catches for 1,000 yards.
And he had 10. Well, he happened to have 10 touchdowns last year. That was a big number for him.
I think he could do 8 to 10 again.
I like Michael Floyd for the upside and the fact that he's more of a big hitter now at this point. Mm-hmm. But I'll flip a coin for who's going to actually win this thing this year in terms of fantasy production.
I think I
give the edge to Floyd. I see more potential from Floyd, which is why I think he should be drafted slightly higher. But I think just as easily Fitzgerald could get more catches and end up in a PPR like being right there with him.
That is very true. But it's understated that 3rd-year breakout year for wide receivers. It just seems like Michael Floyd, his 1st year to his 2nd year, the steady progression's there for him to be between 1,200 to 1,400 yards this season.
Could be.
That's a pretty good – for where he's getting drafted in the 4th round, mid to late 4th round, I think that's pretty good for your your number 2 wide receiver. If you already got one of the top guys in the first 3 rounds, I think that's perfect for Floyd to slip in there as your 2nd receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree with Zach. I really do think it's a coin flip. I still love Larry. I love Larry.
I love Larry, but it's a different Larry.
I mean, this is a different situation, in my opinion, from what's going on in Indianapolis with Hilton and Wayne. I think Wayne is still the clear-cut PPR guy, the guy that Luck's going to look to. And Michael Floyd has more of the complete receiving game than T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton is a home run hitter.
Absolutely. But I think he still plays that deep ball game. I still think that's his biggest upside is the deep ball. So I think you're going to find a couple of games where he only gets 30 yards.
Yeah, that sounds about right. All right. Anybody else on this team you want to talk about before we move on to mock draft Thursday?
You don't want to talk about Troy Nicholas?
No.
Why?
Why do you want to talk about him?
Because he's from Notre Dame.
Yeah, all right.
So
let's move on.
Okay.
College football tonight, baby.
He's going that, and he's wearing a Cal Bears hat right now. Like, listen to this.
The hat fits well, and it looks good on me.
What is the game? John? What is the game tonight?
South Carolina and Texas A&M.
Yes, it is. That's top 25 battle. Nice little game there. But yeah, nobody else on this team is of any interest, correct? I mean, there's a kicker. There's a kicker we could talk. No, I'm just kidding. We're not. Jay Feely got cut. Poor guy. He's been in the leagues too long.
Yeah, this is about it. I think we've exhausted our fantasy for the.
And if you actually wanted to talk about Jay Feely, I would probably have to leave the room because of the fact that he actually kicked me out of the playoffs one year.
Did he really?
Yeah, because he did that. They did that stupid trick play like 2 or 3 years ago. You remember that when they tossed him the ball and he ran it in? That wasn't his only touchdown that game either. He had 2. That's ridiculous.
That's so
ridiculous.
That is so depressing. All right, we need to move on to mock draft Thursday with a question mark because it's supposed to be mock draft Monday. We've been extending the mock draft all week because we're not just going to talk about one day. That's boring, right?
Yeah. No, there's way too much to talk about.
Yeah, you can't just go, I like this. This is what I did. On the Star Fantasy League show, we're all about fantasy. It just happens to be starfantasyleagues.com where you can go and play daily and season-long football.
I like winning, so I went out and I won.
StarFantasyLeagues.com is the first daily site to add season-long contests.
And that's fantastic.
So that also means it's the first site to offer both season-long and daily, right? Because nobody else has done the other way.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've never played daily fantasy football before and you're a season-long guy, come, deposit, play your season-long league, maybe put a little money on there, play the free rolls, $500 free roll every single week on starfantasyleagues.com. Nothing better, right?
I'm ready for it.
All right, here's the big question. We did a mock draft. We're going to be talking about rounds 10 through 12 today. And I just have a little bit of questions. When you get to this point in the draft, what are you looking for? If you're at this point and you still have a starting slot open, you're in trouble, right?
Big time, yeah. You're looking for sleepers and backups. So if you can find
backups with upside, correct? Like guys that
not necessarily
like handcuffy guys you're talking about.
Handcuff guys, yeah. Like we talked. I threw out Matt Asiata yesterday. He's a last round handcuff. He's one of the guys that you take with your last pick or second or third to last.
Is that
pick.
only if you have Adrian Peterson, or
yes.
are you just Okay, so that's
Yeah,
what
Sure,
absolutely.
you don't want Matt Asiata on your team.
He's a very nice man, okay? He is a pleasant gentleman.
How do you know?
But-
You don't know. Stop that.
But somebody like Andre Williams or Jeremy Hill, those guys have been talked up just a little bit where they might be getting goal line work. They might actually be getting 10 touches a game. So those are the types of guys that you want to get maybe in like the 11th round.
All right, so I ended up taking Jeremy Hill in the middle of the 10th round. I think I've been reading reports from a lot of different sources that say he's going to get close to what Ben-Jarvis Green-Ellis was getting last year in production, which is just insane to me based on how Gio played.
You shouldn't be surprised at that. Hugh Jackson runs the ball like that's the only thing he knows how to do.
So basically Jeremy Hill in the 10th is a no-brainer.
It's not a bad pick at all. I think that's a great pick.
Okay,
Yeah, he's a good value pick. They say he's going to get some looks. I mean, if you look at the guys that are going in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, you've got Christine Michael, you've got Devontae Freeman, Carlos Hyde, Niall Davis. All of those guys can go there. It depends on who you like. Andre Williams. It all depends on who you like the most.
and who you have in the first round.
Well, and aside from that, he's mentioning all these guys that went that are pretty good guys, but also in the 10th round, Mark Ingram's going there, Donald Brown's going in the 10th. Those are throwaway picks, right? Like, do you actually see those being good picks?
I don't understand the Donald Brown pick at all.
Neither do I. They have 3 running backs there, and that just doesn't make any sense to me.
And I really don't understand the Mark Ingram pick because that has never worked out.
Nope.
It hasn't. It won't. The years where we thought it might is
Kyrie
it's over.
Robinson, in my opinion, is higher up on that.
I actually like Kyrie Robinson. I think I took him in this league in like that was my 20-man. Like I took him in like the 13th round, and I actually think he has some upside.
Yeah, I think so. Well, one of those two is going to emerge, and we know what Mark Ingram does.
Kyrie
Not
came out.
much.
Yeah, Kyrie played a lot in the playoffs last year. Surprisingly, he fared pretty well.
So yeah, I mean, I think those are.
I think you guys
tough
all.
picks.
I think you guys all had good picks. Justin Hunter is a great pick. Jeremy Hill, a guy that could contribute even with Bernard being as good as he is. And then Kenny Stills, a little bit of injury concern right now for Kenny Stills about starting week 1, which is worrisome. But otherwise, I think you know that I like Kenny Stills a lot. So these are all good picks to me.
All right, so you were basically, you said it, we're going to say it again a million times. The word around these 10th to 12th rounds is upside. Mm-hmm. You're not just looking for the guy that's going to get you 4 points a week, 5 points a week. You're looking for the guy that can do that a couple weeks, but also has the potential to go out and get you 14 points.
Yeah, and I don't really like taking my backup here unless he's the stud backup. If I have Gio Bernard, this is where I want to take Jeremy Hill. I mean, and then you can take shots with guys like Devontae Freeman right here, whether you have them or not. But some of those guys where they're not going to do that much, even if they get in there, and it's it might be unlikely that they do. I'll wait till like the 14th round to get them if I can.
So here's the big question for me then. If you do not get your number one backup, the all-encompassing handcuff pick, what do you do in the season? Like, what's your approach in the season? Because let's say Adrian Peterson goes down and you don't have Matt Asiata, you're not going to be able to pick him up off the waiver. What do you do now?
Hopefully I have enough padding on my team that I've made throughout the course of this draft that I'll have somebody that I can plug in there that could end up being a better player.
And that is exactly the point that I wanted to make, is that in those first 6 rounds, you should be getting at least 3 or 4 running backs in this first 6 so that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about a thing. You should have more running backs and wide receivers on your roster than tight ends and quarterbacks. You should maybe have 2 quarterbacks, and I think you and I agreed we should have 1 tight end. That's it.
All right, and the one question I have to ask, because it's the weirdest thing I've seen in a while, there were defenses being selected in the 11th round in this mock we did. Why?
Yeah, I don't like it. Although Seattle's defense won a few leagues last year.
It was not Seattle that was picked. It was apparently the Patriots. I'm assuming that was just a mock joke. But there were several defenses.
It still raises a
Seattle was
question.
picked in the 7th round.
No, hold on. No, they were not.
That's the issue here.
Oh, that's a problem. I didn't even see that. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's embarrassing.
I think you're setting yourself up for failure there.
There's no consistency across defenses from year to year in terms of fantasy production. The best football defense can be a middling fantasy defense.
Can be.
That is true. All right, coming after the break, we're going to give you more news, notes, and tips on how to mock draft and build your best fantasy lineup. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back, and we were talking about the Arizona Cardinals today, and we were also talking about Mock Draft Thursday. We've been doing a mock draft all week And if you want to do mock drafts, all you got to do is play on starfantasyleagues.com. We just implemented season-long football to go along with our great daily guarantees. What's better than playing daily and season-long in the same place?
And we got a $500 free roll for week 1.
That is very true. That will start the first Sunday of the season.
Play for free.
Yeah, play for free.
Win a lot of money.
If you're new to daily, but you've been playing season long for 20, 30 years, we have it both in the same place. Play your season long leagues, play in the free rolls for daily, and if you like it, use the money you win in the free rolls to play in the games. Pretty easy. We let you play.
It sounds very simple to me.
It does.
I think I'm going to do it.
I'm actually going to make it. Yeah, great. Play on the site like Nick and try to get all the bonuses. But I am going to give everybody who wants to sign up on the site, and if you've already signed up, I'm going to give you a free bonus offer. It's free14 FREE14. That's 100% on your first deposit, all the way up to $2,000. And I'm going to give you $11 credit to play in any of our games. You can use it on season long. You can use it on daily.
Did we authorize this?
I just put it through when you weren't on the show last week. So that's what happens when you miss the Star Fantasy League show. I just make executive decisions for you.
Well, now I'm tied down to it.
Yeah, that happens. That's free14 FREE14, 100% to $2,000 and an $11 bonus. Nothing better than that. But you know what is better than that? Mock drafting and playing season long on StarFantasyLeagues.com. We have to talk about drafting strategy. We talked about today was rounds 10 through 12. At this point, what are you looking for going into the last couple rounds? Obviously, we're talking about a defense and a kicker if you're competent, right? You shouldn't be picking before that. It's a little nutty.
I think you should be picking a defense and a kicker with your last 2 picks.
Yeah, okay. That's it. For some reason, it isn't the general consensus, although it should be.
Nope. Everybody last year drafted Seattle as well in the earlier rounds, and Kansas City actually finished higher than Seattle. So you're wasting a pick. And the difference between each of these defenses is minimal.
It's not huge.
It is absolutely minimal. It's a week-to-week basis. You should just be able to pick up and drop off defenses all season long, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I personally love the streaming of defenses. It is when you pick up a team based on their matchup, and then because almost every week on the waiver wire, you have 2 to 3 defenses that are playing subpar offenses, and you could just go wild.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing goes for me in round 11 and 12. I'm going to look for those backup running backs that could end up being the starters eventually down the year and have the talent to do so. The high upside wide receivers, maybe I'll look at a backup quarterback that I really like, or maybe if I just didn't select a tight end, I might see somebody that's still there that I
hold on a second. How the heck did Jordan Reed drop all the way to the 11th round in this mock draft?
Well, I don't really like Jordan Reed.
But the 11th round?
Yep.
You don't think he has the upside to be a top 10 guy?
You wouldn't take him in the 11th round?
No.
Why don't you like him?
I don't like him.
Why not?
I don't like the Washington
offense. Just because of concussion?
Nope. It has nothing to do with that.
Okay, didn't you say Kirk Cousins is going to be like an MVP this year?
I said that Kirk Cousins would fit better in Jay Gruden's system, just like everybody else is saying.
Yeah,
right
oh my God. We've been hearing some guys come out.
You know that's wrong, right?
I don't agree with you at all.
Definitely wrong.
Jaws came out and said that RG3's arm is broken.
I don't care what Jaws had to say.
Listen, Jaws watched 352 hours of tape this morning. He is on the ball. Okay? I love you, Jaws.
I have a serious question. Do you think him and Merrill Hodge are sitting away in some booth right now watching tape together, holding hands?
Probably. Absolutely.
That's all they do.
How do you figure that's not true?
Merrill Hodge has been watching tape.
Yeah, but where is he?
He's been watching tape.
How do you figure that's not true?
Well, at least from a fantasy perspective, RG3 is the guy. There's no way Kirk Cousins could get more fantasy points for the players around him than RG3.
All right.
He could if he played 16 games.
If you guys think RG3 is the man, if you think Kirk Cousins is the man, you're going to have a chance to make that decision a reality. If you play on StarFantasyLeagues.com, 100% deposit bonus of $2,000, free 14, FREE14. I'm going to toss in an $11 credit for you as well.
Nick, maybe you should draft Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to draft him in the 13th round, bro.
Wait, is that before or after you draft your first defense?
It doesn't matter because my team's way better than yours, Jimmy.
Oh, my God. He's loving the Green Bay Packers. And if you didn't select the Green Bay Packers defense in the 13th round, you clearly know what you're doing in fantasy.
No, you don't.
No, yes, you do.
You don't.
Green Bay Packers.
Sam Shields.
#1 defense.
Tramon Williams.
Take it easy, guys.